Hey you guys, this is Elia coming to you from Pokemon GO. I never thought that I would be vlogging something Pokemon related, but at this point I've put so many hours into this game. It's so addictive. I've had a lot of fun. Honestly, that's the reason that I bothered to do a video on it, because it's just really something I've been enjoying. And so here I am with a level 20 character. I started this recording this past Saturday, and so I was about 7 days into the game. I'm in an area that makes it really conducive to play this game. I live on a Pokestop, which makes it really easy to collect up items, and my neighbors sometimes throw out lures there, and I'm really pleased about that. And I'm also in a town where there are lots of stops, and so it's very easy for me to get to gyms, get to stops. I can go on an hour walk in the morning and hit dozens of stops, loop back around and hit them again. So it's changed my morning walk routine or where I go, but otherwise it's just very convenient. And I can also go to places with multiple stops in range, and people will lure them a lot, and so it makes it just very easy for me to play with minimal cash and also get a lot of stuff and items and Pokemon. So obviously if you live in a more remote area, this is going to take you longer to level up, or it's going to take you more time and money. But I'm still figure it's worth mentioning, where I've put my PokéCoins. I have put some money into the game. I put $20 in. I do plan to be a low cash player, which to me I consider a low cash player anybody who averages $0 to $10 per month on a free-to-play game. And so here, after a couple of months, I'll average out to about that. But I did put in an initial investment, and I'll get to where I put those in a little bit. So the early part of this video, I'll just sort of throw my 2 cents out there on, where I'm spending PokéCoins, where I think it's really efficient to put those types of items, and, my plans for the game. And then the latter half of this video will just be me getting a ton of XP through evolving a lot of Pokemon. So we'll get to that, but you can get PokéCoins from claiming gyms, so definitely make sure to claim in the shop those PokéCoins and the Stardust that you get from claiming gyms. You want to do it when you're at the peak number of gyms that you've claimed for that day. They do set it to a 20-hour cooldown, which is much better than a 24-hour cooldown in my opinion, so I'm glad they did that. And so that's pretty convenient. You can save up quite a bit there. So that's obviously where free-to-play players really have to work at it. If you're in an area where you can train around pretty easily, maybe that's better. For me, I just go to the ones within walking distance of me, so I can only get to 3 of them. And so I think Pokeballs are a purchase that you really want to avoid. Same with the incense, these early 2 items, even though they seem very nice, Pokeballs you can avoid by just hitting a lot of stops. Obviously, for more rural areas or more remote areas, both of these items are helpful because they either bring, incense bring Pokemon to you without needing a stop and without needing to be as mobile, and Pokeballs are harder to get if you're not around a lot of stops. But if you're in a more remote area, you're either going to need more time or more money no matter what. So I guess this is not easy advice for anybody that isn't around a similar area as my own. Lucky eggs are the most precious item in the game, in my opinion. Obviously, egg incubators are helpful, but I think lucky eggs, as far as leveling up and getting yourself to a point where you're getting lots of high CP and rare Pokemon, are really critical. You want to level up quickly because that's when you start getting better Pokemon, and so lucky eggs are going to help do that. I haven't bought any lucky eggs yet, but I'm sure in the future I will with my PokéCoins because they're so helpful and because I'm running out of free ones. So you get one initially, and then you start getting 1 or 2 every 5 levels, starting at level 10. And so for me, I have, after this video, only 1 left, and then as I get into the latter half of the video, I still have 3 eggs, but I used 2 here. I have tons of things to do during those lucky eggs, and so that's an awesome item. I don't know if I can save up 1,250 coins to really efficiently buy those lucky eggs, but I think saving up 500 coins for 8 lucky eggs is very doable. For the lure modules, obviously those are really attractive and a lot of people are going to be buying those. For me, I'm in an area where it's so easy to just mooch. So if you're a moocher, that's awesome. If not, you know, having a big group and contributing one and then having a lot of other people keep it going is probably the easiest way. This game is definitely better with large numbers, and I'm sure that's part of the design to get people playing together and playing outside. The egg incubators are definitely another thing that I'm thinking I want to buy with my free PokéCoins. So between those and the lucky eggs, those are my most important upcoming purchases. But my initial purchase was into the bag upgrade, so that's where the vast majority of my PokéCoins went with that initial $20 that I put into the game. The bag upgrade is so important to me because I am a huge hoarder and I hate to give up items. I know myself, and so for me that's an important purchase. For I think any not OCD player who is much better at just giving up stuff, I think you don't need as many bag upgrades. A bag size of about 500 is going to be pretty comfortable, so that's like 5 upgrades. But for me, it was just the initial amount was gonna drive me too crazy. I know it was, and so I just made that purchase pretty early. I also got a couple egg incubators, but yeah. So I think my future purchases, I'm okay on bag upgrades now. They'll go into incubators and into lucky eggs. I think Pokemon storage, they're pretty generous at the beginning. They give you space for 250. So far, that hasn't been an issue. Really, in this video, I am the closest to hitting that 250, as I'll probably be for a while, just because I saved up so many duplicates of Pidgeys, Rattatas, and Weedles. So I don't think that's generally an issue yet. Maybe in the future I'll want 1 or 2 of these Pokemon storage upgrades, but for now it's totally fine. But yeah, so they have different packages and stuff. Obviously, they want to encourage you to spend more, so you get better deals if you put more money into it. But I don't think you need to spend a ton of money on this game, just because it is very free-to-play friendly, and so, you know, I would go with the bag upgrades early and hit lots of Pokestops, save up lots of Pokeballs and stuff, and then as you travel into more remote areas, if you're trying to track down Pokemon in areas without as many stops, you won't feel the pressure of, you know, not having enough items and stuff stored up. So sometimes you need to take a break from catching Pokemon and just hit the stops as much as possible to gather up items and things like that. So for me, even though I'm a really huge hoarder and I like to save all my items, in this game it's just not realistic, so I do give up some of the potions, which, especially once you start leveling up, they're sort of very, very small and not that important, and eventually you'll get max potions as well. So super potions, hyper potions I keep at the moment. I also give up some revives because they really give you more than you need. The PvP system in this game is not that sophisticated yet. I'm sure they'll add in aspects to it later where you're going to need more potions because you're going to be fighting more. But right now the gyms are all there is to it. So unless you're going around and claiming gyms just for the sake of claiming gyms, you really don't need as many revives as they give you. If you just do a few a day to get your PokéCoins, you know, just a few potions and revives are going to be plenty. So now on to my Pokemon, and Caterpie at first, I thought about using it to get XP during a lucky egg period, but I really don't get quite enough of them to justify that. So really, I've regretted pretty much every set of evolutions that I've done. So I did do Metapod and Butterfree here, but I just almost categorically regret it, just because as I level up I get higher CP versions of these Pokemon, and so I regret using the candies on them, especially if they're harder to find. And so for me, these Weedles, you know, I have almost 300 here, and by the time that I get to the latter half of the video, I have well over 300, and there are other Pokemon, Pidgeys and Rattatas as well, that I get so many of these candies that I feel no guilt using them up. And I know if I feel like, you know, oh, I actually want to take one of my Pidgeotos to Pidgeot, if I want to do that in the future, it's not going to be hard for me to build up those candies again. So there's sort of like a guilt-free aspect to using these. And so some people call it an exploit to use these Pidgeys for XP and to evolve them for XP, but really I think it's probably by design, because if you're just tasked with using the other more rare Pokemon for XP, or or whatever it might be, it would be very, very difficult. So a lot of games have these grind and farm aspects to them, and I think just the very common Pokemon in this game are, you know, that aspect. You know, there aren't a lot of other things to farm other than items through Pokestops. And so the Rattatas are good as well. I get a ton of those as well, over 300 candies, but the Rattatas are half as efficient because they cost 25 candies to evolve, and so even though I do like to use those for this purpose, you know, you just can't get as many evolves in. And so here with the rest of the Pokemon, I'm really just saving up the higher CV versions of each one, and hoping in the future I can evolve and get some nice stuff. So really just being careful, wanting to level up quickly, and that's my main priority. You know, I only have like 50 or so varieties of Pokemon, which I think is a lot less than most of the other players that get to this level, just because it's not what I've focused on. I am not, you know, rummaging through the bushes trying to find every little rare Pokemon, and so I by all means admire people who are willing to put that much effort into it, but just for me, that's not how I've approached this. I'm mostly just aiming for XP at the moment, and if I get lots of different Pokemon, that's great. If not, I'm not going to cry about it yet. Eventually, I'm sure there's going to be a few that are so hard to get that I'll be a little bit frustrated. But otherwise, the last thing I'll mention with the Pokemon is that you should think about getting a good skill set on them. At the moment, there's no way to change the skills. Maybe in the future there will be, but there's at the moment no guarantee or preview of that. And so this Flareon, you know, I have two of them, and so this is the one that I put some Stardust into. Now I'm saving the Stardust. I don't want to do upgrades, but at the time I decided to build up one Flareon, and this one has Fire Blast, and my other Flareon has Heat Wave. And on paper they look identical. They have the same build-up bar for you know, how much you need to charge it up to use the skill. And they both say, you know, 60 damage, and they look identical aside from the name, but Fire Blast deals way, way more damage, and so I tested both of them out on the gym, and I just decided to upgrade the one with Fire Blast, and so that's something to look out for. You probably don't want to put Stardust into a Pokemon where the skill set is not ideal, just in case in the future you end up regretting it and you end up against a similarly high CP Pokemon, but your ultimate attack or your big attack is much, much weaker. So the last thing that I wanted to cover before I get into evolving a ton of Pokemon are the eggs and choosing incubators, because I do want to set myself up to hatch these eggs during that lucky egg period. And so the hatches will give you 1000 XP each hatch, and then if you hatch something you don't have yet, which is pretty common with the eggs because they tend to have relatively rare stuff, so if you haven't hatched a lot of eggs, definitely want to make them land during a lucky egg period, because you'll get the extra XP for adding something to your Pokedex. So there are two different types of incubators. The blue ones, which have a limited number of uses, 3 uses each. So I have bought 2 or 3 here for this purpose. So I have 6 of the blue ones, and then I also have the initial incubator that you get, which is the orange one. And I use the orange one with infinite uses on the 2km eggs if I have any, because the 2km eggs are very, very short, and you'll go through uses and attempts if you use the blue ones very quickly. So for me, that orange incubator is just perfect for the 2km eggs. Sometimes if I don't have 2km eggs, which is not like I've been through a lot of eggs at this point, I'll be willing to put it on a 5km egg, but for sure on those 10km eggs I want to use probably one of those blue incubators, because they'll be sitting in there for quite a while, and then I can use the orange one on the shorter ones multiple times. So that's just a little bit of strategy and efficiency using your incubators. Try and use them wisely. I think that orange one on the 2km eggs is important. And so for everything else, I'm putting all my 5km eggs into these blue incubators and trying to have it so that I time it with a lucky egg period and get a lot of XP. So each one of those, bare minimum, is going to give me 2000 XP each. So along with evolving a ton of Pokemon, that's going to give me a lot of XP. So I hoofed it a lot and got through the vast majority of the distance needed for hatching these eggs. I might be guilty of doing a couple very slow rounds around a parking lot, but other than that, the vast majority of this is actually just hiked. And I actually probably could have gotten it a little bit closer. I didn't realize that pacing through my apartment was just not going to work as well as I thought. I can sit around my apartment and just either playing on my phone or whatever, and 0.2 km happens pretty quickly. I don't know why, the GPS gets confused, but I actually was trying to pace around, and I was even jogging down the hallways trying to get these eggs to hatch while evolving a ton of Pokemon, and it just wasn't working. I couldn't leave to try and get out of the building to maybe make it work better or whatever, because I needed to be linked to my Wi-Fi for the mirroring. So anyway, it was a big mess, but anyway, so I showed that initial XP. I was very close to level 21 because I had walked around so much, hit so many stops, and caught a lot of Pokemon, even some new ones, and so I'm in pretty good shape. So here I do 32 Weedle evolutions, and the animation takes close to 30 seconds. So by the time that I was done with these first set of evolutions with the Weedles, I was well into 15 or so minutes of that lucky egg. But the Weedles got me to level 21, and level 21 to 22 takes 75,000 XP. So the cost is really getting pretty steep for these levels. It takes a lot, and so here with the Pidgeys I have even more, 471. So I did some of the Pidgey evolutions, but I was getting pretty worried because these eggs were not hatching. I didn't understand. I was spinning my phone around. I was walking around through my apartment, pacing, trying to get these eggs to hatch, and they just were being really stubborn. And so usually it doesn't take that much effort to get that last bit, and just whatever it might be. It was said 5 out of 5 kilometers. I didn't want to waste time trying to check through and see what each one of them were at. But anyway, so I was checking back and forth a little bit, did some more Pidgeys, but it became really clear to me that I had enough materials to probably justify 2 lucky eggs. Maybe I should have slowed down a little bit and tried to organize my stuff a little bit better, maybe try and catch a few more Pokemon, but I was worried about those eggs hatching pretty quickly, so I just went ahead and did the second lucky egg and did more Pidgey evolutions, and while I was going through these Pidgey evolutions, the eggs finally started to hatch. So it's all good. I used 2 lucky eggs. I have lots of things to do here, and I get a lot of XP. So this first one, it was being a little weird. It didn't show the Diglett, but I did get a Diglett there. So that's my first one. So I get some extra XP for getting the new Pokemon. Krabby I definitely have already. But the nice thing about the hatches is that you get a lot more bonus candies than you do just by catching the Pokemon. So I don't mind repeats there, especially for what Pokemon I'll want to evolve in the future. So Tentacool and Meowth I also already have, but again, lots more candies. Got 10 of them with the Meowth, and an Ekans, which I also have. So I'll show the CPs for all the Pokemon, but they do get cut off in the video. And then the other, so I had 2 new Pokemon from the eggs, the Rhyhorn and the Diglett. And these CPs are pretty average. They're not that great, but I have gotten better ones. I have a 700 plus CP Ponyta that I've gotten from an egg. So, sometimes they're not that great, but they're not bad either. So there you see all the Weedles and Pidgeotos. But I do get into the Rattatas. Again, can't do as many of these, but I do have a lot of candies, and so I'm able to get through 17 Rattatas as well. And even though the Raticates actually turned out pretty good as far as CP goes, I would end up with my high CP. If I ranked everything by CP, I would end up with probably a lot of Raticates. Somewhere in the top 40 Pokemon I have if I kept all of them. But I do get rid of a lot of these Pokemon for candies. And here I end up transferring a bunch of the Kakunas. That's not, the times 38 isn't just Kakunas. I also got rid of some Weedles. And so I was able to do a few more Weedle evolutions. So I don't know what was there. It said that there was an error and that I didn't evolve the Pokemon, but it did evolve, and so I got the XP for that, but I had to reset the game. And throughout this, I had so many issues. I probably shouldn't have done this on a weekend just because it was so busy. The servers were going crazy. So I lost 3 or 4 minutes during all of this to just the game being crazy. But I also did the same for transferring some of the Pidgeotos and Pidgeys and got some more Pidgey evolutions in. So this was really just an awesome amount of XP. The total XP I gained was 108,400, so I was really pleased about that. And just for how much stuff I had, that sounds about right. I was able to get a lot of evolutions, and that was great. And also the eggs hatching was very nice. I think I hit the stop by my apartment a couple times as well in there. So if the math doesn't add up for just the evolutions, that's why. But otherwise, as far as, future purchases and everything go, I have to go for the lucky eggs. So I don't know if I can save up enough for 25 lucky eggs, but for sure I'm going to save up for 500 coins to get 8 lucky eggs, and that hopefully will help me push to level 25. So everything exciting as far as the leveling goes generally happens in 5s. But even so, after I leveled to 22 and caught some Pokemon afterwards, the Eevees and the Oddish and some other and the Bellsprouts and certain Pokemon that I was getting were over 600 CP at their initial evolution, so they hadn't been evolved yet. And so that was pretty exciting, and just a testament to wanting to level up more before evolving those Pokemon. Before that, the Eevees that I was getting were somewhere in the 500s. So each time that I'm leveling up, the Pokemon get better, and so it's worth the patience. So I hope this helped out, so you guys can see the potential for these lucky eggs. I'd seen in the Reddit and some stuff saying that save some time, or throw a lure or something during your lucky egg in order to catch Pokemon during that period. But catching Pokemon gives a lot less XP. It only gives 100, so you get 200 during the lucky egg. If you can save up so that you're evolving throughout the entire lucky egg, you're going to get a lot more XP, and it's going to be way more efficient. So just be patient, have fun, and if you guys like this Pokemon Go content, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want to see more. Otherwise, thanks for watching, take care, and have a very good day.